Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'll be sharing the resume that got me my first data scientist job at Micron. Now, if you like this content, make sure to subscribe below. Let's get into it. Now, in any job applications, there are mainly 3 steps involved. So first, you submit your resume. Second, if you pass the resume screening, you get to attend the job interviews. And third one, if you pass the job interviews, then you receive the job offers from the companies. So therefore, having a good resume will increase your chances of getting your job offers. And this is exactly what today's video is all about. I'll talk about how I built my resume that helped me get my first data scientist job at Micron. And I'll talk about why I wrote the way I did in my resume. And finally, I'll give you some tips on how to build your resume from scratch. So let's get started. Here's my resume, which I got the resume template from one of the workshops I attended back in my college days. The template was actually given by the people who got job offers from those very top investment banking firms like Credit Suisse, Goldman Sachs, etc. So I found this template very simple to understand and easy to follow, and so I applied that to my job search in data science roles. Ideally, your resume should only have 1 page, but because of the resume of the templates, I actually have 2 pages for my resume. But I think it's fine for my own purpose because I can fit in nicely in 2 pages. But if you can't really fit in 2 pages sufficiently for your resume, I strongly suggest you to only keep it as 1 page. Okay, so let's start with the resume header. So first, I have my name here, and also I highlighted my surname. You can do the same as well, and also shared my LinkedIn profile, which I think is extremely important. If you don't have a LinkedIn profile, or if you have not polished your LinkedIn profile, I highly recommend that because most hiring managers or recruiters, they will always check out your LinkedIn profile to check your background, your experiences, your academic background, all sorts of things. So having a well-polished LinkedIn profile will help a lot. I also share my personal contact number and also my email address for them to reach out to me if they want. And this is a very simple header that you should probably have in your resume. The second section that I put in my resume is the education. And the reason why I didn't put my work experience first is because back then I just started working as a full-time research engineer at Titansoft. So I didn't have so much work experience, that's why I put education first. But if you have been working in the industry for quite some time, a few years, you can put your work experience here, and then you can put your education at the bottom of your resume. So it really depends on your current situation. Back then I put my education here, my college, the degree that I study, and my CGPA here. So if you don't have a very good CGPA, you can just remove that part. It's really optional. I also put my awards and achievement here to showcase the kind of competitions, the hackathons, the research that I did in my college days to showcase my academic capabilities. And finally, also I put in the machine learning competition and also Tableau stories competition in my education section here, just to show the hiring managers what I was capable of in terms of the skill sets and my experience. Finally, here comes the third section, which is my work experience. Now, this is the meat of your entire resume, and that's why you should really pay much more attention to this section here. So for me myself, the way that I structured it is by the reverse chronological order. So that means I put the latest, the most updated work at the top, followed by the second. So here, because back then I just graduated and Titansoft was my first full-time job, I worked there as a research engineer doing some machine learning projects. Super fun stuff, by the way. So essentially the structure that I put in all the bullet points here, I follow a structure, the framework called STAR method. So STAR stands for situation, task, action, and results. So situation means that what kind of situation or challenge that you face at work, and task just means that what kind of task that you were involved in, your responsibilities, your goals. Essentially it means what do you do, right? And the third one would be the action. How do you do it? What actions do you take to achieve the task? And how do you contribute to the overall team's goals? And finally, the results. Now, this is important because Result shows the impacts of your action. What do you do, and the impacts on it to the project, to the company as a whole. And always you should really quantify your result, the impact that you make based on your efforts. So let's see how the STAR method is applied to my resume bullet points. So for Taddensoft role here, this is the situation, which is to imitate human behavior. And the task that I did back then was to really automate the system, perform data mining and ETL automation, and also build machine learning models, the action that I took to achieve my goals. And finally, the results that I got from the action was that I managed to exceed the company's profit margins. But ideally, as much as possible, you should always quantify your result. And that's why if you look at my previous internship at Quantum Inventions as a data scientist intern, I actually quantify way more than my role at Taddensoft, because I was able to quantify it with certain numbers based on the impact that I had. So for Quantum Inventions period, when I was an intern back then, the situation was to improve the prediction accuracy, right? So the task that I did back then was to perform data pre-processing and manipulation, build some machine learning models. And the result that I got from the task and the action was that I managed to hit the accuracy of more than 90%. So this is how the STAR method was actually applied on my bullet points. I would like to emphasize that don't just show what you did, but show the impact of your work. How do you show the impact? By quantifying it. And therefore, you should always, as much as possible, put the quantifiable numbers of the impact. So maybe you exceed the profit margin by a certain percentage, maybe you reduce the cost or the amount of time by a certain percentage, or maybe you have your companies make extra additional revenue by this amount of money. How many millions, how many dollars, as long as you put the dollar, the amount, the percentage, the number under your impact, this will answer the questions that any hiring managers will have, which is so what. Another thing I want to point out is that if you notice, every sentence that I put in here, I always start with an action verb. I will never put an adjective, I will never put a noun as a starting word for every single sentence here. And this is because having an action verb would strongly emphasize and showcase more of your doing instead of talking. And that's why I always have the intention, the plan to put in the action verb as my starting sentences here. For the fourth section, I put in the competitions that I joined. Throughout my whole university days, I joined various competitions. Here, I only put in 2 competitions that I think are relevant to the jobs that I apply for, which is the data scientist role. So for you, if you join so many different competitions before, you don't need to put in all together, just pick and choose the relevant one and put them here. Now for my 5th section, I actually put my CCA and also my community services. I want to highlight one thing is that this section here is really optional, especially if you have already been working in the industry for quite some time. Nobody actually wants to talk about your CCA, so you only need to put this if you are graduating soon or if you just graduated from your college. Finally, here comes the last section, which are my skills and interests. So here I briefly mentioned about my language skills and also the programming skills that I have, Python, MATLAB, C++, stuff like that. And also the IT skills that I possess throughout my internship and also my work experience, including Postgres, Git and stuff like that, Tableau, and also my interest at the last one, which is the kind of skill set that I was interested in, the kind of activities that I did as my side hustle back then. So all in all, this is more of like to showcase the skill set that I have to do the job if I were to join the company at Micron. Again, if you have been working in the industry for quite a few years, I would strongly recommend you to move this skills section to the top of your resume so that the employers, the hiring managers can see your skill set instead of your education. Because for people who are already experienced at their work, usually employers or hiring managers tend to just want to see your skills first instead of your education. So for your education section, you can just put at the bottom. Here comes the question, how to actually build your resume when you are just getting started and you want to go into data science. So here are my 3 tips for you to build your resume if you're just getting started. First one is to join hackathons and also internships to build your real-world experience. Second one is to, as much as possible, try to contribute to the open source projects on GitHub. There are so many open source, say Python projects on GitHub. All you need to do is really just to contribute to those open source projects to showcase that first thing, you are able to code and you have the technical expertise. Second is to showcase that you are able to collaborate with the open source developers globally. And the third tips that I have for you to build your resume is to really start building your own personal projects. And by personal projects, I mean find certain social problems to solve. This is by far, I would say, the most effective way to build your experience and also to build your resume just by doing your personal projects. So there you have it. This is my resume that I sent to the hiring manager at Micron for a data scientist role. By the way, if you want to use my resume as your template, I already put the link down in the description below. You just need to take a look at it and grab it if you want the template for your reference. So that's all I have. If you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.